Good morning, everybody. I will start with the only Chinese word I know, which is Chao Shan Hao. And the rest of my presentation will be in English. I'm going to talk about how blockchain could shape and disrupt supply chain, and also in connection with this disruption could also change the assurance world, which is the business in which I'm working as director for digital transformation and M&A. A few words about the company I'm working with, which is called the DMVGL. It's a company which has 150 years of history. It has been founded in the 19th century, so we are a fantastic incumbent to be disrupted. We are owned by a foundation, still controlled by a foundation, and our purpose is safeguarding life, property, and environment. This purpose was established 150 years ago and still stays. What do? We help customers in building trust. That's why we are here to talk about how blockchain could reshape trust. We are used to work with supply chain because supply chain needs trust. Why there's this need of trust? Because every single transaction, a physical transaction, a financial transaction, or an informational transaction needs trust, and this trust needs to be granted towards not only the customer, but also to a diverse number of stakeholders. There's a need for transparency, and every company needs to grant this trust to protect brands. We are very well known as a global certification player. We have more than 2,000 people. We have issued more than 80,000 certificates. We have 70,000 customers all over the world. So we are a global player, and we are dealing with global and complex supply chain. We are not a bank. So the industry in which we are working is very small. It's worth overall only 115 billion euro. It's a very small industry. So in order for you to follow me in this journey, I would like to explain what do we do just in one slide. Our industry is about assurance, and what is assurance? Assurance is about ensuring our customer that they could build the necessary trust around a product that could be traded, or an asset that could be operated, or towards a process that needs to be executed. How do we do this? We do this through a number of activities, which are testing. We check products at factories, as an example. We do inspection. We check companies, suppliers, to make them able to work in supply chains. And we do also certification activities. Standardization has been helping the development of this industry, and the number of need of trust has increased. At the beginning, it was only about quality to be granted between a supplier and a manufacturer. Now we have multiple stakeholders and multiple needs of trust. This is just an example of what we have to provide to our customer to make sure that they could work in supply chain. But let's now go into the core of my presentation. We truly believe that blockchain has a disruptive impact on supply chain and on this activity, on the assurance activity. And my role, together with a colleague of mine, is to make sure that we turn this disruptive element into a transformational element. That's what an incumbent should do. And we are trying to do this, and we are embracing blockchain precisely for that. Why we do this? Today, supply chains are still linear. What does it mean, this? It means that basically they've been designed for mass production, and they've been designed for reliability and efficiency. And in this world, in this kind of supply chain, transactions are happening between two subsequent nodes. And this kind of transaction are very stable. Supplier belonging to such a kind of supply chain are very stable. So there is, in the stability of supply chain, there is an embedded element of trust. Relations between players in this supply chain are typically long-lasting. How do we ensure trust in this kind of supply chain? Through a number of process assurance activities to make sure that companies, suppliers, players are able to be part of the supply chain, and through product assurance activities. In these product assurance activities, we try to make sure that products are fit for purpose. But today, these kind of activities are very often done on a sample basis. We don't check every single product. We check only a product out of 1,000 to make sure that they are fit for purpose. And the information about this performance data doesn't flow across the supply chain. And this is creating friction in the supply chain and duplication of activities and additional cost. Last but not least, all these activities are still designed and serving purpose in a B2B context. The consumer is getting more and more importance, but is not at the center of the present assurance concept. What is happening through digitalization is simply that connectivity is changing the way supply chains are shaped, that products are becoming information in product is increasing, the information is more and more embedded into product. The number of transactions, any kind of transaction, is exponentially increasing, and the need of trust coming from different stakeholders is becoming more and more relevant. And in this stakeholder plate, the consumer is getting more and more momentum. How this is going to change the supply chain and the assurance. Our assurance activities do no longer fit with this shifting paradigm. Why? Let's see why. Supply chains are no longer linear because connectivity makes possible to players that were never talking to each other, that were never relating to each other, to interact. And if they don't know each other, there's no trust. And if there's no trust, there's a problem. You may today print at the manufacturing, use 3D printing to print a prototype, just jumping between nodes. New form of transaction are coming, new need of trust are sourcing. Process assurance activities are still relevant, but there is an urgent need to make sure that this information are flowing across the supply chain. It's no longer enough to make sure that trust is granted between two players belonging to the subsequent nodes. But more important than this is that all product-related information, like a test report or a product certificates, needs also to be digitalized and needs to follow the product, physically follow the product across the supply chain. And this plays a new need, the need of linking and connecting in a unique way the product with the digital information. The concept of digital identity becomes fundamental for the future assurance. And of course, users are becoming more and more relevant. They want that their own phone is tested, not only a sample. So the resolution of assurance needs to be increased, needs to move from a batch sampling to the single product. That's a big challenge for us. The end game of this transformation is a connected world in which linear supply chain do no longer exist. But in this connected world, we have an exponential increase of different kind of transactions, of which the physical ones, those on which we were focusing on, it's only a minor part. Among these transactions, there are machine-to-machine transactions, which are microtransactions. How do machines trust each other? This is something to be explored. The digital content of product is increasing, and the digital twin needs to correspond precisely to the product it represents. New business models are coming. We need to trust that we pay the right for what we get, and we have the right for what we share. In the sharing economy, it's important to pay for the right use. And of course, tagging digital product, creating the possibility to link digital information to physical product is becoming a crucial element of competitive advantage. Last but not least, we will need to trust that all data sets generated by IoT device will truly represent the reality. We refer to that specific product and will properly and securely managed. We believe that blockchain has a fundamental role in this transformational pattern. And that's because blockchain enables the satisfaction of a number of requirements that are the fundamental elements of the new digital assurance. That's why we are here today, and that's why we are working to make sure that we leverage this technology to transform ourselves, to be able to ensure trust in any kind of transaction in this new ecosystem. We believe that blockchain should be the digital backbone of any kind of future supply chain, and that the digital assurance will be enabled by the implementation of specific smart contracts, which are basically making sure that assurance activities are connected and are triggering seamless financial transactions. The other important element is the digital identity. The fundamental element for creating digital assurance, I repeat it, is create a unique and true correspondence between the product and the digital information which is related to the product. And blockchain is not just a concept in the supply chain assurance. This is an internal slide which we use to monitor our competition. And you will see in this slide that our traditional competitors are in the center of this radar screen. And if you look on top of this slide, you will find the number of players that are using blockchain technology to provide new form of digital assurance. So blockchain in the supply chain and in the supply chain assurance is more than a proof of concept. It starts becoming reality. Why we believe blockchain is important? Because it's important for our customer, first of all. I mean, the industry we are serving are dealing and are undergoing a severe digital transformation process in which blockchain is an important pillar. We are also taking our own digital transformation journey, and because we think we need to create more value for our customer leveraging on this technology. And we believe that blockchain will be key in creating the new digital assurance market space. What are we doing to promote this? We are contributing to the development of the new ISO standard on blockchain and on distributed ledger technologies. We are working with a Chinese company, VeChain, to create a global partnership for redefining completely the concept of assurance and turn it into a digital assurance in supply chain. We will release in 10 days a first application in production which build the premises to create an assurance-based digital identity for our customers. And we are working with selected customers to deliver a number of specific blockchain use cases on assurance. Last but not least, this is our vision. We believe that players like us, merging with a blockchain company, could be at the center of the future digital assurance market space, in which we will deliver a number of solutions that are no longer dealing in the classic B2B world, but are addressing a number of value creation opportunities towards the end user, meaning towards consumers. Thank you very much.